Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the channel. Today we have a lot to talk about, so grab a coffee, get comfortable, and join us. If you love football and want to stay up to date with everything, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot and ensures you won't miss any new content. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. Have you ever imagined seeing a young talent trained in Manchester City's academy leave for almost nothing and then return as a millionaire star? Well, that possibility is getting closer to becoming a reality. Right back Jeremie Frimpong, who has shown at Bayer Leverkusen, could be on his way back to the club that developed him. Negotiations are heating up, and as a passionate City fan, I can't wait to share this huge news with you. So grab your coffee, relax, and let's dive into this major transfer story. If you closely follow Pep Guardiola's work, you know he always has a trick up his sleeve when it comes to signings. And this transfer move could be yet another masterstroke by the manager. Manchester City are in advanced talks to bring Frimpong back, a player who left the academy in 2019 for a symbolic fee and could now cost around $40 million. But how did all of this come about? Let's go back a bit in time to understand this story better. Jeremie Frimpong is a 24-year-old Dutch right-back who has been one of Bayer Leverkusen's standout players. Last season, he was a key figure in helping the team win the Bundesliga unbeaten, an historic achievement. He scored 8 goals and provided 10 assists in 47 matches, remarkable numbers for a player in his position. His journey began at Manchester City's academy, where he stayed from the age of 9 until he was 18. However, in 2019, he was sold to Celtic for just $350,000. Then in 2021, he moved to Bayer Leverkusen for around $1 million. At the German club, he experienced meteoric growth and became one of the most valuable fullbacks in European football. Now City are trying to bring him back for around $33 million, but Guardiola is looking to lower that cost even further. The problem is that Liverpool are also interested in Frimpong and could attempt to hijack the deal. Jurgen Klopp's side see him as a potential replacement for Trent Alexander-Arnold. What could work in City's favor is a reported verbal agreement between Frimpong and Leverkusen, allowing him to leave for around $40 million. The challenge is that Manchester City want to reduce that fee as much as possible. However, time is ticking, and any hesitation could open the door for another club to swoop in. The good news for City fans is that Frimpong has a clear ambition. He wants to play in the Premier League. Moreover, he still holds a strong connection with Manchester City, the club where he took his first steps in football. Returning to the Etihad Stadium would be a special moment for the player, who would arrive as a key figure in Guardiola's system. If you've never watched Frimpong play, you should know that he is an absolute rocket. His blistering speed, reaching peaks of over 35 km/h, makes him an extremely attacking fullback. On top of that, he dribbles like a winger, averaging 2.5 successful dribbles per game. His attacking stats last season speak for themselves. 18 direct goal involvements, surpassing many midfielders and forwards from top clubs. But would he fit into City's playing style? Everything suggests that he would. Frimpong can operate both as a traditional right-back and as a wing-back in a more offensive system. Guardiola has repeatedly shown that he favors full-backs who can attack and contribute to build up play. Imagine him linking up with Bernardo Silva and delivering crosses for Haaland to finish. It would be a perfect match. Of course, defensively, he still has areas to improve, but with Guardiola at the helm, that is something that can be refined. The Spanish coach has a track record of transforming talented players into even more complete footballers, and Frimpong could be his next big project. Looking at Manchester City's squad, Frimpong's arrival would make a lot of sense. Kyle Walker, at 34, has left the club for AC Milan, leaving a gap at right-back. Rico Lewis is a promising talent, but he's not yet ready to be a starter in every match. Frimpong would be the ideal player to fill that role, bringing speed, technique, and attacking power to the team. In Guardiola's tactical system, which often shifts between a 3-4-3 and a 4-3-3, Frimpong would have the freedom to push forward and contribute offensively. He could play as a right wing-back in a 3-at-the-back setup or as an attacking right-back in a 4-man defense. With his ability to reach the byline and create chances, he would bring a new dynamic to the team. And we can't ignore the emotional aspect. Seeing a homegrown player return as a major European football star is something special. It highlights the club's role in developing talent and how a player's journey can take unexpected turns before bringing them back to where it all began. But there are challenges in this deal. The first is Liverpool's competition, as they could submit a higher bid and convince the player to choose Anfield over the Etihad. The second is Frimpong's adaptation to English football. The Bundesliga is an intense league, but the Premier League is even more physical and demanding. He will need to adjust quickly to justify the investment. Moreover, Bayer Leverkusen won't make his departure easy. The German club know they have one of the best fullbacks in European football and will demand the highest possible fee. Guardiola and his team will need to act fast to finalize this signing before things get complicated. Speaking of challenges, there is one detail that cannot be ignored: Frimpong's adaptation to the Premier League's style of play. Although he has excelled in the Bundesliga, the level of intensity and physical demands in English football is on another level. Just remember talented players who arrived from Germany and took time to get used to England's frantic pace. However, Frimpong has qualities that could ease this transition. His speed and stamina make him a player who rarely struggles with physical wear and tear throughout matches. Furthermore, the fact that he was developed in City's academy means he is already familiar with part of the club's philosophy, which could accelerate his adaptation process. Another important point to consider is the impact his arrival would have on Manchester City's tactical setup. As mentioned earlier, he can play both as a traditional right-back and as a wing-back in more attacking formations. This gives Guardiola extra flexibility when setting up the team, allowing for strategic variations throughout the season. And if we analyze the way City have played in recent years, it is clear that the right-back position is one where the manager likes to have dynamic options. Kyle Walker, for instance, has always been a crucial player in Guardiola's system, especially due to his speed and defensive capabilities. However, he is now over 30, and his move to Milan has left a void in the squad. Rico Lewis is a promising talent, but does not yet have the necessary experience to become a starter in a team competing for every trophy. João Cancelo, who could have been an option, is no longer part of the club's plans. This makes Frimpong the ideal solution to strengthen the position and bring more balance to the team. But what if the deal does not go through? What can City do if Frimpong ends up joining another club? That is a question the board has surely already asked, and some alternatives may be under consideration. One option would be to look for another right-back in the market, which would not be an easy task. There are good players in the position, but few who combine speed, attacking ability, and adaptability to City's style of play. Another possibility would be to rely on an internal solution, giving more minutes to Rico Lewis and adjusting the tactical setup to minimize the need for an attacking right-back. What cannot happen is for the club to be left without a proper replacement for Walker. The Premier League season is long and demanding, and the Champions League requires a strong and balanced squad. Guardiola knows this better than anyone, which is why he is likely to push the board to secure this signing. And speaking of Guardiola, there is another topic that has been stirring Manchester City fans: the future of the Spanish manager at the club. The early exit from the Champions League and the underwhelming Premier League campaign have raised questions about his stay. Currently, City sit only 4th in the Premier League table, far behind leaders Liverpool. For a team that has accustomed its fans to fighting for titles in all competitions, this season has been frustrating. But what is truly concerning is the possibility of Guardiola leaving before his contract expires. According to reports from Football Transfers, the manager is not satisfied with the team's current situation and feels he was practically forced to renew his contract. He is also said to have the desire to manage a national team, particularly one with a realistic chance of winning major titles. This rumor gained traction after the Spanish program El Chiringuito claimed that Guardiola was considered for the England national team job. The English FA reportedly showed interest, but, without a definitive response from the coach, decided to go with Thomas Tuchel instead. Even so, the idea of Guardiola managing a national team in the future is not off the table. For him, it could be the ideal time to take on a new challenge and compete in a World Cup or European Championship. But does this mean he will leave City soon? The club's board, of course, have different plans. After renewing the manager's contract until June 2027, the intention is to keep him for as long as possible. The problem is that if results continue to fall short of expectations, the pressure could increase and the situation could change quickly. So far, City have played 40 matches this season, securing 19 wins, 8 draws, and suffering 13 defeats. For a club of Manchester City's stature, this performance is concerning. Their only realistic chance of silverware left is the FA Cup, where they will face Plymouth Argyle in the next round. But will winning only the FA Cup be enough to convince Guardiola to stay? And more importantly, does the board have a plan in case he actually decides to leave? If that happens, choosing the next manager will be crucial to maintaining the club's high standards. Guardiola is not just a successful coach. He is the main architect behind turning City into one of the most dominant teams in world football. His departure would leave a huge void, and selecting his successor would have to be done with extreme care. Some names are always mentioned as potential successors, such as Xabi Alonso, who has been doing an excellent job at Bayer Leverkusen, or even Luis Enrique, who has managed both top clubs and national teams. But none of them would have quite the same impact as Guardiola. Given this scenario, Manchester City need to act swiftly to shape their future. Frimpong's possible arrival is an important step in strengthening the squad, but the uncertainty surrounding Guardiola could affect not only this deal, but also other moves in the transfer market. All this uncertainty about Guardiola is affecting not only the fans but also the players. The Spanish coach is one of the main reasons for Manchester City's success in recent years, and his departure would leave many questions unanswered. After all, how many players signed with the club or renewed contracts believing they would be under Guardiola's command for a longer period? The transfer market is heavily influenced by high-profile managers. If Guardiola is truly dissatisfied and looking for an exit, it could directly impact the arrival of players like Frimpong. Many athletes choose a club not only for the salary or the league they'll be playing in, but also for the sporting project and the manager in charge. In the specific case of Frimpong, Guardiola's presence could be a determining factor in convincing him to choose City over another club, such as Liverpool. Under Pep's guidance, he would have the chance to evolve even further and become one of the best fullbacks in the world. But if there are doubts about the coach's future, the negotiation could become more complicated. This brings us to a crucial point. Manchester City's board must act decisively to prevent this uncertainty about Guardiola from affecting the club's planning. If the intention is to keep the manager, it's essential to ensure he is fully committed to the project. Otherwise, it would be better to start thinking about alternatives for the future. But would Guardiola really leave now? Despite the rumors, there are some factors that might favor his staying. One of them is the legacy he is building at City. Few managers in football history have managed to transform a club in the way he has. Before his arrival, Manchester City was already a strong team, but it was under his leadership that the side became a true global powerhouse, winning national and international titles in a dominant fashion. Moreover, Guardiola has always been a manager obsessed with challenges. He has already won nearly everything with City, but there are still goals to be achieved. The Premier League will always be a tough competition, and the Champions League remains a trophy he would like to win more times with the club, not to mention the possibility of turning new players into stars, which might motivate him to stay. And speaking of transforming players, Frimpong could be one of those cases. Guardiola has a history of taking raw talents and turning them into world-class performers. With Frimpong, he would have an attacking fullback who could further develop his defensive abilities, becoming a complete player. However, if the season ends without titles and Guardiola's dissatisfaction grows, the situation could change quickly. Football is dynamic, and a simple decision can trigger a series of unexpected events. Therefore, City needs to prepare for all scenarios. If Guardiola stays, strengthening the squad with players like Frimpong is essential to keeping the team competitive on all fronts. If he leaves, the board will have to ensure that the transition to a new manager is done in the best possible way. What cannot happen is a sharp drop in performance to the point where City is no longer one of the favorites in all competitions. Last season showed that the team has weaknesses that need to be addressed. Right back is one of those areas in need of improvement, but it's not the only one. The club needs to assess the entire squad and identify which areas need to be strengthened. Another point that deserves attention is the financial situation. Manchester City has the resources to invest, but they need to act wisely to avoid falling into market traps. Frimpong's case is an example of this. City knows they can bring the player in for around 40 million euros, but they are trying to reduce that price. If they take too long to close the deal, they risk losing the opportunity to a rival. And it's not just Liverpool that could disrupt this negotiation. Other European clubs are also keeping an eye on Frimpong. His performances at Bayer Leverkusen have caught the attention of teams from Spain and Italy, who could make offers if they sense that City is hesitating. For this reason, it's crucial for the board to act quickly and efficiently. If the goal is to sign Frimpong, the negotiations need to be completed before other clubs enter the race and drive up the player's price. And here comes a factor that could be decisive: Frimpong's own desire. If he really wants to return to Manchester City, it could make the negotiation easier. Many players prioritize clubs where they feel comfortable, and the fact that he was trained in City's academy could be a differentiating factor. This leads us to the following question. Would Frimpong come in as a guaranteed starter, or would he have to fight for his place? The answer depends on how Guardiola plans to organize the team. If he is used as a wing-back in a system with 3 center-backs, he is likely to get plenty of opportunities as a starter. However, if the team continues to play with a 4-defender line, he might have to compete for a place with Rico Lewis and other squad options. In any case, his arrival would increase internal competition, something that has always been a strong point of City. Guardiola likes to have players competing for positions, as it raises the training level and keeps the squad motivated. Regardless of what happens, one thing is certain: Manchester City is at a crucial moment. The decisions made in the coming months will determine the club's future for the next few seasons. If Frimpong is signed, he will have the chance to write a new chapter at the club where it all began. If Guardiola stays, he can continue his work and pursue more titles. But if there are changes, City will need to reinvent itself to stay at the top of European football. And that's it, folks. I'd really like to know your opinions, so comment below what you think and what you're expecting from the next chapters of this story. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because it really makes a difference and motivates me to bring even more content to you. Hit the bell so you don't miss any updates, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!